Have you ever felt a strange heaviness in the presence of someone close, a quiet unease that you can't quite name? The world is not dangerous because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Sometimes, what unsettles us most isn't what's obvious, but what lurks beneath the surface, a carefully hidden darkness that wears a friendly face, says all the right things, and slowly slips past your instincts. The greatest threat comes not from those who loudly declare their intentions, but from those who quietly undermine your trust, your confidence, and your sense of reality. According to Stoic wisdom, the first step in protecting your peace is learning to see clearly, because true danger often hides in plain sight. Evil isn't announced by thunder or signaled with warning bells, but with tiny cracks in someone's words and actions, small betrayals camouflaged as kindness. In the next moments, I'll share with you 8 powerful red flags, subtle but unmistakable signs that reveal if the person beside you is playing a deeper, darker game. Some of these signals will surprise you, and as you discover them, you may start to look at certain relationships with new eyes. What if someone you trust most has already shown these signs, and you missed them? Are you willing to notice now, before it's too late? Stay with me as we uncover how to spot these warning signs and protect the peace and dignity you truly deserve. If you're ready to take control of your life and guard what matters most, let's begin this journey together. Red flag number 1. They constantly lie or manipulate the truth. Truth isn't just a virtue, it's the core of every strong relationship, the glue holding trust together, and the safety net beneath our sense of belonging. When someone repeatedly chooses lies over honesty, they turn every conversation into a maze where you start to lose sight of what's real. Let's talk directly. Have you ever met that person who seems charming at first, spinning little stories that are just a touch off? It starts subtly, a white lie about where they were last night, a distorted tale told to dodge a harmless question. At first you might shrug it off, but then the little things add up. One day, they insist something happened exactly as they remember, and the next, they flatly deny ever saying it at all. When you courageously hold them accountable, their reaction isn't to set things straight. Instead, they turn the tables. They suggest you're overreacting or misremembering, planting the seeds of doubt deep in your mind so you start second-guessing yourself. That right there is deliberate confusion, and it's not an accident. There's a modern story I want to share. Imagine Lauren, who worked with a charismatic manager named Max. Max always had the right words, but little by little, Lauren noticed he'd shift his stories to suit his needs. One project, she remembered him promising a deadline extension, but in the next meeting, he claimed he'd never said that at all. When Lauren brought it up, Max laughed and suggested she must be stressed out or not paying close enough attention, a classic move known as gaslighting. Over time, Lauren's confidence plummeted. She wasn't sure if she was making mistakes or being manipulated. This is a textbook example of how constant lying doesn't just mask the truth, but distorts your entire reality. Malicious liars like Max use deception not simply to cover their tracks, but to gain power, to measure just how much they can manipulate your thoughts, your actions, even your memories. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, have you ever felt the ground shifting beneath your feet in conversations with someone, that nagging sense that something's not adding up no matter how closely you listen? Do you often walk away from their presence unsure of your own memory or instincts? That's not just forgetfulness or harmless confusion, that's someone toying with your perception on purpose. As you reflect, remember this: a truly malicious liar doesn't just deceive, they reshape reality. That's a heavy truth, and it's essential to recognize it early. You deserve an environment where your thoughts are valued, where your instincts aren't second-guessed, and where trust isn't optional. If you spot these red flags, don't rationalize them away as quirks or flaws. You have every right to protect your peace of mind. Let's be clear. A person who habitually lies, manipulates, and leaves you feeling lost in a fog of uncertainty isn't just difficult. They're dangerous to your emotional and mental well-being. So, what can you do? First and foremost, honor your gut. It's wiser than you think. Communicate your feelings with someone you trust. Seek perspective outside the situation and set boundaries where needed. At the end of the day, the lesson is simple. Protect your mind, value your truth, and never let another person's lies become the framework of your reality. Real relationships are built on honesty. Don't settle for anything less. Red flag number 2. They constantly criticize you but never acknowledge your successes. There's a kind of negativity that creeps up on you so quietly you hardly notice it's there at first, but its effects can be devastating. The steady drip of constant criticism, always telling you what you lack instead of celebrating what you've achieved. Let me speak directly to you. Have you ever poured your effort into something important, working late nights or overcoming setbacks, only to share your good news with someone who responds with a cold shrug? That's fine, but why didn't you do it this way? Or worse, compares your hard-won success to their own, making sure you know they did it better or faster. This is how toxic criticism works. It doesn't build you up. It just slowly eats away at your confidence until even your biggest victories feel like failures. There is a particular kind of poison that doesn't kill you outright, but weakens you over time. Constant, unrelenting criticism. Sometimes it's family, like when Anna finally achieved her promotion after years of dedication, but her brother only said, "Took you long enough. I did that years ago." No celebration. No pride. Just a reminder that in his eyes, she was always a step behind. This isn't how support looks. If someone never lifts you up but always pushes you down, you need to ask yourself, who benefits from this dynamic, and how is it affecting your belief in your own ability to succeed? Over time, these critical voices can become louder than your own, subtly shaping how you see yourself and what you think you're capable of. People who act this way rarely want to see you grow. They want to see you doubt yourself. They shift the goalposts, so no matter how much you improve, it's never enough. Then showcase their own achievements as though they're the standard you'll never reach. While they diminish your achievements, they elevate their own. The truth is, even people with the strongest sense of self can begin to waver under this relentless negativity, questioning whether they really have what it takes, or if their successes are just small blips compared to someone else's. Have you felt this way after sharing something meaningful, only to leave the conversation doubting what you've actually accomplished? The Stoics remind us that our worth isn't determined by the fleeting opinions of others, especially those who seek to keep us small. It's measured by how we hold true to our principles and recognize our own progress. Let me ask you, what would change in your life if you chose to surround yourself with people who lift you up, who celebrate your wins and encourage your growth, rather than those who treat your victories like inconveniences? There's incredible power in deciding that someone else's bitterness will never set the bar for your self-worth. No one has the right to make you feel unworthy. So, if you recognize this toxic pattern in your life, protect your mind fiercely, honor your path, and put distance between yourself and those who'd rather see you shrink than thrive. Your growth is your own, and you deserve to have people around who respect it, support it, and cheer you on every step of the way. Red flag number 3. They make you feel like you're always at fault. Let's have an honest conversation about one of the most dangerous red flags you can encounter when someone makes you feel like you're always at fault. You may have heard the saying, A mind in doubt is a mind that can be controlled. This is the weapon of choice for manipulative or toxic people, and it's called gaslighting. They don't need to shout or threaten to wear you down. All they need to do is quietly chip away at your confidence, twisting situations until you start questioning your own reality. It often starts small. You try to speak up about something that bothers you, and suddenly you're told you're overreacting or being dramatic. Maybe you bring up a past disagreement, certain you remember how it went, but they insist it never happened and that your memory can't be trusted. Or perhaps they say something hurtful, and when you express your pain, you're labeled too sensitive. Over time, you start second-guessing your feelings and your thoughts, not because they're not valid, but because someone very deliberately wants you to. Have you ever wondered why every apology, every conversation, somehow circles back to being your responsibility, as if you're always the origin of every issue? That's not just a difference of opinion, that's someone seeking to dominate your sense of self. Think of Maya, a young professional who found herself caught in this exact trap with her partner. Every time she raised a concern, the response was the same: deflection, denial, or ridicule. If Maya remembered a promise differently, or felt disrespected by a remark during a party, her partner would laugh it off or suggest she should loosen up. Soon, Maya couldn't trust her own instincts around him. She was constantly anxious, apologizing for things she hadn't done, quietly wondering if her emotional reactions were completely unreasonable. This is gaslighting at work. They don't need chains or threats to control you, just a steady erosion of your confidence, making you question your own reality until you rely on them to tell you what's true. The harsh truth is, a truly caring person will listen and try to understand where you're coming from, even if they disagree. But those bent on control want you trapped in self-doubt, so you seek their approval at every turn. So let me ask you, have you noticed a pattern where you're left feeling confused, unstable, or like you're always apologizing? Do you ever find yourself justifying your feelings or replaying events in your head, worried you somehow got it wrong? It's time to check in with yourself. No one has the right to dictate your reality or undermine your sense of truth. The ancient Stoics teach us to trust reason and stand firm in what we know is real. If someone in your life constantly dismisses your emotions, manipulates memories, or makes you feel like your reactions don't matter, take it as a very real warning. You do not owe loyalty to anyone who undermines your confidence or poisons your sense of self. Your perspective is valid, your experiences are real, and you have the right to trust yourself. Stand up for your mind, don't hand over your inner clarity, and remember, you are not crazy. You are not overreacting, and you do not need their permission to believe in your own reality. The greatest lesson here is to be fiercely protective of your sense of self-trust, your perception. Seek support from those who believe in you, and always, always honor your own truth. Red flag number 4. They play the victim in every situation. Life hands out its fair share of challenges to each of us, but there's a significant difference between someone who learns from hardship and someone who uses it to manipulate those around them. This is where the red flag of perpetual victimhood shows up. Let's address this plainly. You may have met someone who never seems to take responsibility, whose first instinct is to blame everyone and everything except themselves for their problems. They wear their victimhood like armor, shielding themselves from accountability while using it as a weapon against others. These individuals become experts at casting themselves as heroes in a tragedy, and they expect your sympathy, sometimes even your loyalty, regardless of how their behavior affects you or others. For a while, you might feel compelled to help, maybe even thinking you can save them, but eventually you notice the pattern. Their misfortunes always take center stage, their pain is always the deepest, And no matter how much support you give, things never actually change. Think of someone like Erin, who, in her workplace, always talked about how everyone was out to get her. Her managers didn't appreciate her colleagues didn't include her, and every mistake was someone else's fault. The team bent over backwards to show support, covered shifts, and offered encouragement. But whenever someone gently pointed out a way Erin could improve or set a healthy limit, Erin would immediately flip the script. "How could you say that to me after all I've been through?" Suddenly, a conversation meant to help becomes a reason for you to feel guilty and question your own kindness. Have you found yourself constantly excusing someone's poor decisions simply because their story seems so heartbreaking? Do you walk away from conversations wondering if you were too harsh, even when your boundaries were totally reasonable? This pattern isn't just exhausting, it's manipulative, because the person isn't seeking solutions. They revel in drama and want your sympathy on standby. The Stoics tell us that while we can't control life's hardships, we can and must control our responses. Anyone who refuses to own their decisions doesn't just avoid growth. They lay all their burdens on your shoulders, turning your empathy into a chain. When someone makes you question your sanity or morality every time you try to protect yourself, this isn't just unhealthy, it's a threat to your peace and well-being. So, let me ask you, do you feel trapped in a cycle where your good nature is constantly tested and your compassion is used against you? Are you always one no away from becoming the villain in their story? If so, it's time to see it for what it is, a dynamic that's not only unfair to you, but also unlikely to change. The core message here is that your empathy is precious and deserves to be honored, not weaponized against you. Real strength comes not from putting up with endless self-pity, but from choosing relationships where responsibility and growth are shared. Value your peace, stand firm on your boundaries, and don't let anyone convince you that helping them means losing yourself. The lesson is simple. Support those who strive to rise above their struggles, but never carry those whose only aim is to keep you anchored in theirs. Take a moment to pause and reflect. Have these ideas illuminated your own silent strengths or unseen struggles? I invite you to share a thought, or quietly carry this insight as we continue together. Red flag number 5. They love conflict. Let's talk about a crucial warning sign you can't afford to ignore. Someone who seems to find joy in constant conflict and drama, almost as if peace in any setting makes them uncomfortable. If you've ever encountered a person who lights the spark of discord wherever they go, you know how exhausting it can be. They're not just occasionally argumentative or passionate, but they seem to have a magnetic pull towards turmoil, orchestrating arguments and tension like a conductor directing a chaotic symphony. A sure sign you're dealing with an individual whose intentions are far from virtuous is their unyielding devotion to discord. This kind of person doesn't stumble upon conflict by accident. Instead, they actively seek to provoke it, quietly planting doubts in the minds of friends or co-workers, stirring old grievances, and transforming the most peaceful situations into battlegrounds. Maybe you've been at a work meeting where a team member makes a harmless, offhand comment, and suddenly everyone in the room is suspicious or agitated. Later, that same person looks on with satisfaction, pleased with the confusion they've caused. Take the example of Jason and his apartment roommates. Every time things were going smoothly, Jason would drop little remarks about who did more chores, who was late on rent, or who went out more often, and before long, everyone was on edge, friendships strained, and trust shattered. Why would someone do this? Because, for them, the swirl of arguments, the rise in anxieties, these are their trophies, evidence of their twisted craftsmanship. They aren't just observers, they're architects of strife. Feeding off negative energy, as if it gives them strength, and showing little regard for the pain they inflict. Now ask yourself, have you ever noticed someone who always seems to be at the center of drama, yet, when questioned, insists they're just being honest or only trying to help? They might feign innocence, claim victimhood. I don't know why everyone else is overreacting. I was just speaking the truth. While in reality, they are deliberately striking at old wounds and weaknesses. This behavior is a direct attack on your inner peace, your ability to trust others, and ultimately, your own mental well-being. The ancient Stoics remind us that we can't always control what others do or say, but we do have absolute authority over our own reactions and boundaries. If you recognize that someone in your life not only stirs conflict, but delights in the destruction it causes, they leave you feeling drained, anxious, or constantly on guard, consider what the story of Jason and his roommates reveals about the cost of tolerating such behavior. What patterns do you see in your own relationships? How do you typically respond when tension arises, and how does it shape your own happiness or sense of peace? The truth is, you deserve a circle that nurtures harmony, empathy, and genuine support, where disagreements are handled with respect and resolved with understanding, not a stage where relationships are tested for sport and conflict is entertainment. Let's remember, those who love conflict will always try to shake your composure, but you have the power to choose how much influence they have over your day-to-day life. Protect your boundaries fiercely, refuse to let your energy be sapped by perpetual drama, and if you must, have the courage to walk away from those who thrive on discord. The message is clear. Your peace is priceless, so stand firm, cultivate environments of understanding, and only let people into your life who show they value the same. Red flag number 6. They display no empathy or compassion. Empathy is the thread that connects one human heart to another. It's what allows us to celebrate each other's happiness and, just as importantly, to truly understand each other's pain. When that vital sense of compassion is missing, it becomes a glaring red flag that you can't ignore. You deserve to have people in your life who can see you, who can listen when you're hurting, and who recognize your experiences as real and valid. But if you're faced with someone who feels nothing, not for you, not for anyone, their coldness is more than just uncomfortable, it's chilling. Have you ever reached out to share a deep loss or disappointment, searching for kindness or even just a gentle word, and been met with an icy shrug, an empty, "life's unfair," or worse? Had your pain used against you or brushed aside like it never mattered? Think about Zoe, who, after losing her beloved pet, turned to the person she thought she could count on, only to be told, "Get over it. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Not only did Zoe's grief go unacknowledged, but suddenly she felt shamed for caring at all, a moment that left her feeling utterly alone. This lack of response isn't Stoic strength, it's apathy disguised as power. While the Stoics teach us resilience, they also remind us that true strength is rooted in wisdom and, fundamentally, in compassion. Someone who actively ignores your feelings or treats your emotions as annoying distractions isn't simply different, they are showing you their true character. Let me ask you, have you ever left a conversation with someone feeling smaller, unseen, or as if your worries were invisible? A person without empathy has no problem causing pain because they simply don't connect to it. This makes them especially dangerous to your emotional well-being. Their indifference, over time, can breed a suffocating loneliness and gradually make you doubt the importance of your own experiences. If you see this pattern, recognize it for what it is. Your feelings, your joys, your struggles, they matter, even if someone else refuses to acknowledge them. No one has the right to treat you like an inconvenience or make you feel invisible. The lesson here is powerful. Never waste your time searching for warmth from someone who gives none. Don't let their emptiness consume you. Real connection is built on understanding and shared feeling so. Protect your spirit and choose to invest your time and heart in those who can truly see and care for you. Trust what you see when empathy is missing, and know you deserve so much more than cold indifference. Red flag number 7. They try to isolate you from others. One of the most revealing warning signs in any toxic relationship is when someone tries to isolate you from the people who care about you most. A toxic person often seeks to control not only your thoughts but also your social connections, and they do this with quiet, persistent tactics that can be hard to spot at first. Maybe they criticize your closest friends, subtly suggesting that those people don't truly care for you or have your best interests at heart. Maybe they drop hints that your family is too interfering or that hanging out with your old friends just doesn't suit you anymore. Over time, these seemingly small comments can cause you to pull away from your support network, leaving you feeling more dependent on the toxic individual for emotional support and affirmation. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself canceling plans, making excuses for not seeing loved ones, or second-guessing whether your friends and family really understand you, all because of doubts sown by someone else? Take the story of Mike, who had always been close to his family and college friends until he started dating someone new. Little by little, his partner convinced him that his friends were holding him back, and his family never really supported him, until Mike looked around one day and realized he hadn't called his parents in weeks and hadn't seen his best friend in months. When you allow someone to create distance between you and your loved ones, you hand them the power to shape your reality, and toxic people know this. Their aim is to become the center of your world, making it easier for them to manipulate your feelings, needs, and decisions. I want you to ask yourself, is there a person in your life who tries to control who you see and how you spend your time, who criticizes your loved ones or tries to make you feel guilty for staying connected to your support network? Are you losing touch with people who have always lifted you up? And if so, why? It's natural to have periods where you focus more on one relationship, but if you notice a pattern of growing distance that doesn't make sense or isn't your own choice, it's worth paying close attention. The lesson here is straightforward, but powerful. Your connections with others are a source of strength, not weakness, and anyone who asks you to cut them off or constantly undermines those bonds is not acting out of love or care, but out of a need to control. Protect your relationships, listen to your gut, and remember that a healthy bond will never require you to sacrifice the people who matter most to you. Always value those who support and respect you, and never let someone else's insecurities or manipulations convince you otherwise. Red flag number 8. They exploit your kindness and push your boundaries. Kindness and generosity are some of the most beautiful qualities you can share with the world. But sadly, they often attract the wrong kind of attention from those who would rather exploit them than appreciate them. There are people, whether consciously or not, who are remarkably skilled at spotting compassion in others and zeroing in on it for their benefit, chipping away at your willingness to give until you feel empty and confused. You may notice at first it's just a few small favors, like a friend who constantly needs you to cover for them at work, or a partner who keeps asking for help with things they could easily manage on their own. As time passes, these requests become more demanding, more frequent, and somehow you feel pressured to agree even when it makes you uncomfortable. Manipulative individuals are masters at pushing your boundaries little by little, taking advantage of your desire to help, until you reach a point where saying no feels almost impossible and you find yourself carrying burdens that don't belong to you. Think about Mia, who was always there for everyone. She'd drop everything to help a neighbor move, volunteer at community events, and take over extra work when her colleagues fell short. It wasn't until she stopped to breathe that she realized she was running herself ragged for people who never offered the same support in return. The worst part? When she tried to set limits, she was met with guilt trips and accusations of being selfish, leaving her questioning whether kindness really was a flaw after all. Have you ever felt deeply valued only when you're saying yes to someone else's needs, or found yourself dreading requests because you know no isn't an option? These are classic signs your boundaries are being systematically pushed and your goodwill exploited, and it's vital to see this pattern for what it is: a major alarm bell, not just a minor annoyance. Your compassion should be cherished, not used up and tossed aside. The most important lesson here is that your boundaries matter as much as your kindness, and you are never wrong for protecting your energy or for saying enough. Healthy relationships don't require you to sacrifice your comfort or say yes to everything. They thrive on mutual respect and reciprocity. So, next time you catch yourself feeling used, resentful, or anxious about someone's requests, ask yourself, are you being valued, or are you just being useful? Recognize your worth, enforce your boundaries, and surround yourself with people who honor your generosity, not those who only show up when it serves them. Kindness is powerful, but only when balanced by self-respect. Remember, it's okay to put yourself first and to say no when someone tries to push past your limits. As this conversation draws to a close, let the sum of these 8 silent warnings settle into your heart, not as fear, but as discernment honed by experience. The world is crowded with both shadows and light. Your task, as a student of Stoicism, is to walk with open eyes and an undivided mind. Remember, those who bend the truth, hunger for conflict, erode your confidence, play the victim, diminish your growth, lack empathy, isolate you, or prey on your kindness, reveal themselves not through words, but through the silent currency of their actions, yet you remain sovereign. With each lesson comes a new clarity, your power to set boundaries, to return to yourself, and to nurture what is just and good. As Seneca writes, most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. May you carry this wisdom as a quiet shield, resist the siren pull of those who wish to drain your peace, and trust that your strength is proven in the silent spaces where only you can choose. Wherever you journey, hold fast to your dignity. Let reflection be your compass, and know the freedom of an untroubled mind. In the hush after this word, may you hear the echo of your own resilience, steady, awake, and enduring.